Good evening. Today is July 12th, 2018. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I'd first off like to say, or ask my members starting to my right to introduce themselves.
Paul Kaiser.
Tara Wolf.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
I'm Donald Webb, the President.
Mark Morim.
And Kathy Chappell, our Secretary, had a family commitment. She couldn't be here tonight. I think this is her first miss in like 6, 7, 8 years. So we wish her back next month. First up, I will ask if there's any corrections or any problem with the minutes. If not, I would ask for a motion by one of you to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. So that's good. And then the second thing we've got, before we get to the good stuff, is our payment of the bills for July. So for July, we have a total of $21,614.27. That breaks down to Borgeman Enterprises. Let's find a page, I'm sorry. At the back. So Borgeman Enterprises, $860, $310, and $1760. Tim Showalter, $225. Tim does our television for us. The Beech Grove Sewer Works, $1875. Peters Consultants, that was for one of our reports, $245.80 and $363.37. Lewis Caps, that's Robert, our attorney, that was $625. Postmaster was $87.10. Crossroads Engineering was $17,100. And another sewage works for $1875. Keep in mind that covered the month of June when we didn't have a board meeting. So Crossroads Engineering, also that was for our greenway, the environmental work that we're doing to keep that process going. So those are all the bills that I have just read out for $21,614.27. I would ask for a motion to pay those bills.
Can you exclude Crossroads so I can vote on the other ones?
Okay, excluding Crossroads, so we don't have a conflict of interest. Her husband works there. I would ask for a motion to pay all the bills but Crossroads.
Make said motion.
Second?
Second.
And now excluding Tara, I'd like a motion to pay Crossroads.
Make said motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so,
Don, you didn't vote on the first.
yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes. I second.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't, you're right, okay, so excluding Crossroads, we had a first and a second, all in favor of paying all the bills but Crossroads.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so all bills are paid. With that, I'll let people start signing, and I will let the mayor come up first.
Oh,
I think you're it for the entertainment tonight, so
okay.
you've got to make it good.
Good deal. This Saturday, behind City Hall from 9 until noon is another free shredding and appliance drop-off. So we do that every 3 months, and there's no charge for any of it. St. Francis update. They are completely done with the removing of the foundations. Now they are doing some utility work, removing any existing utility, and then you'll see you're seeing that they're almost done. The piles are dwindling, so I suspect this summer they'll be done. Now, there's another project going on over there, and that's at the garage. They are taking the floors out of the parking garage and putting new floors in. And it's a really interesting process to watch. But people are calling in about noise over there, and they're saying it's from the demolition of the hospital, but it's not. It's from the parking garage. So that's going on. I don't know how long they'll be doing that.
Dennis, what was the problem with the floors?
They took them out for whatever reason, the parking garage floors, put new floors in.
Oh, okay.
So that can't be cheap.
Sure it's-
The paving, our community crossings grant for paving, we're all done for this round. we're getting ready to apply for more funding. They're having a special project, call for projects from August 6th to the 28th of September. So we're going to apply for some more funding to do a little bit more work. One of the things I wanted to pass on to you, it really doesn't apply to the RDC, but it's just for public information. The council's going to hear next Monday a new housing code for single and double family dwellings. So, and it involves rental property as well. So it's an interesting document, and so we're going to work on that, do some work on that. The one we have on the books now is not enforceable. I've never enforced it as mayor. It's too intrusive. So we're going to take a look at this one. We're not going to vote on it Monday, we're just going to talk about it. The Arlington Roundabout is less than a year away from the letting of the bids to construct it. So in our civil city budget, we'll have to budget for that. We've already budgeted for it this year, and we'll have to do it again next year. So for about $600,000, we get, the NDOT gives us from like 1.7 million. So I would do that every day. But it's coming. The Greenway, work continues on the Greenway. The document that I gave you is just a document that IDEM sends out for every project to remind you of what your requirements are from an environmental standpoint when you do your project. So we signed off on that. That's just another step in the process. And this project has already been, there's a federal government's, I forget what you call it, they call it SHPO, and it has to do with historical markers, historical events that have taken place on where you're constructing. So that has to be approved. So believe it or not, the Greenway's 2 years out, it's already been approved. So SHPO's already approved it, so that's a major roadblock out of the way already. So that's going, now next year, and I want to talk to you about it, in your budget for next year, the Greenway is split the cost. The city's share is $65,000, the RDC's share is $65,000. That includes provisions for the trailhead at 15th and Albany. So now the paving that you're going to see next year is all tied to the Greenway. So that project's getting close. So we'll be ready to go when 2020 comes. Anytime after July the 1st of 2020, that project will go. So in the early phases, I'll come back to you next year and tell you what you should budget for when they let the project out. It'll be for the construction. What we're doing now is we're paying for all
Good evening. Today is July 12th, 2018. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I'd first off like to say, or ask my members starting to my right to introduce themselves.
Paul Kaiser.
Tara Wolf.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
I'm Donald Webb, the president.
Mark Moran.
And Kathy Chappell, our secretary, had a family commitment. She couldn't be here tonight. I think this is her first miss in like 6, 7, 8 years. So we wish her back next month. First up, I will ask if there's any corrections or any problem with the minutes. If not, I would ask for a motion by one of you to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. So that's good. And then the second thing we've got, before we get to the good stuff, is our payment of the bills for July. So for July, we have a total of $21,614.27. That breaks down to Borgman Enterprises. Let's find the page, I'm sorry. At the back. So Borgman Enterprises, $860, $310, and $1760. Tim Showalter, $225. Tim does our television for us. The Beech Grove Sewer Works, $1875. Peters Consultants, that was for one of our reports, $245.80, and $363.37. Lewis Capps, that's Robert, our attorney, that was $625. Postmaster was $87.10. Crossroads Engineering was $17,100. And another sewage works for $1875. Keep in mind that covered the month of June when we didn't have a board meeting. So Crossroads Engineering, also that was for our greenway, the environmental work that we're doing to keep that process going. So those are all the bills that I have just read out for $21,614.27. I would ask for a motion to pay those bills.
Can you exclude Crossroads so I can vote on the other one?
Okay, excluding Crossroads, so we don't have a conflict of interest. Her husband works there. I would ask for a motion to pay all the bills but Crossroads.
Make said motion.
Second,
Second.
and now excluding Tara, I'd like a motion to pay Crossroads.
Make said motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so,
Don, you didn't vote on the first.
yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes. I second.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't, you're right, okay, so excluding Crossroads, we had a first and a second, all in favor of paying all the bills but Crossroads.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so all bills are paid. With that, I'll let people start signing, and I will let the mayor come up first. I think you're it for the entertainment tonight, so you've got to make it good.
Good deal. This Saturday, behind City Hall from 9 until noon is another free shredding and appliance drop-off. So we do that every 3 months, and there's no charge for any of it. St. Francis update, they are completely done with the removing of the foundations. Now they are doing some utility work, removing any existing utility, and then you'll see you're seeing that they're almost done. The piles are dwindling, so I suspect this summer they'll be done. Now, there's another project going on over there, and that's at the garage. They are taking the floors out of the parking garage and putting new floors in. And it's a really interesting process to watch. But people are calling in about noise over there, and they're saying it's from the demolition of the hospital, but it's not. It's from the parking garage. So that's going on. I don't know how long they'll be doing that.
Dennis, what was the problem with the floors?
They took them out for whatever reason, the parking garage floors, put new floors in.
Oh, okay.
So that can't be cheap.
Sure it's-
The paving, our community crossings grant for paving, we're all done for this round. we're getting ready to apply for more funding. They're having a special project, call for projects from August 6th to the 28th of September. So we're going to apply for some more funding to do a little bit more work. One of the things I wanted to pass on to you, it really doesn't apply to the RDC, but it's just for public information. The council's going to hear next Monday a new housing code for single and double family dwellings. So, and it involves rental property as well. So it's an interesting document, and so we're going to work on that, do some work on that. The one we have on the books now is not enforceable. I've never enforced it as mayor. It's too intrusive. So we're going to take a look at this one. We're not going to vote on it Monday, we're just going to talk about it. The Arlington Roundabout is less than a year away from the letting of the bids to construct it. So in our civil city budget, we'll have to budget for that. We've already budgeted for it this year, and we'll have to do it again next year. So for about $600,000, we get, the NDOT gives us from like 1.7 million. So I would do that every day. But it's coming. The Greenway, work continues on the Greenway. The document that I gave you is just a document that IDEM sends out for every project to remind you of what your requirements are from an environmental standpoint when you do your project. So we signed off on that. That's just another step in the process. And this project has already been, there's a federal government's, I forget what you call it, they call it SHPO, and it has to do with historical markers, historical events that have taken place on where you're constructing. So that has to be approved. So believe it or not, the Greenway's 2 years out, it's already been approved. So SHPO's already approved it. So that's a major roadblock out of the way already. So that's going, now next year, and I want to talk to you about it, in your budget for next year, the Greenway is split the cost. The city's share is $65,000. The RDC's share is $65,000. That includes provisions for the trailhead at 15th and Albany. So now the paving that you're going to see next year is all tied to the Greenway. So that project's getting close. So we'll be ready to go when 2020 comes. Anytime after July the 1st of 2020, that project will go. So in the early phases, I'll come back to you next year and tell you what you should budget for when they let the project out. It'll be for the construction. What we're doing now is we're paying for all all engineering and environmental and all of the right-of-ways and all of that stuff. But in 2020, you'll budget for the actual construction.
That was like 134, right?
For you folks. For us, it's 134 as well.
Right, I remember us voting on, I was just making sure in my mind, so 2020 is the 134.
Mm-hmm.
Which that'll pretty much take our budget for that year.
Well, it just depends on what else comes in. It might be less.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
we have around 140 to 50,000 a year to play with, and after that, it's, now we've been good about not spending money, so we've got a little bit in the bank to help, but.
And if more things come about, we can do more, try to do more to lessen our cost even more, so. That's going to be really interesting to watch. And then we just got some funding for sidewalks on Thompson, so that's the big ceremonial check behind me. That project will go in '21. So the thing that's going on now is there's big projects that are going to happen every year for the next 3 or 4 years. So that's good for the city.
On the sidewalk, is there any chance at all that the city of Indianapolis and Beech Grove will work out a deal to redo the road to fix it as well as the sidewalks?
Well,
I know you said it's not due to be replaced till 2035, but, you know, I mean.
that would be up to the city of Indianapolis.
All I worry about is you go and you put in this nice sidewalk stuff, and then when they do tear out the road, they end up tearing up the sidewalks with the construction equipment.
Now, if you look at the bottom of the check, it says Thompson Road Trail.
Right.
So what that means is it's not really a sidewalk like we think, it's a trail. So that path will be at least 8 feet wide. So it'll be off the road, and there'll be a walking bridge to go over one of the creeks there.
So do you have to buy people's yards then?
No, very little. I think there's one small plot that we have to do. Other than that, no, it's all. And that's a great thing, I'm not jumping back and forth, but that's a great thing about the roundabout is, or not the roundabout, but the greenways, because almost all of the property involved with the greenway is either owned by the school district or by the city. So that is a major plus for us.
Or in a floodplain?
Or in a floodplain.
Yeah.
So, and the last thing I want to talk to you about tonight involves the RDC. We have been working with NDOT. The city is blessed because we have a really good relationship with NDOT and the current administration for the state. And Indianapolis has shown little interest in the Hoosier State and the Cardinal and the Union Station. So NDOT, well, the other day, the governor was on a train coming back to Indianapolis, and they went by the airport, and he wanted to know who all these cars belong to. And they told him it's either FedEx people, employees, Southwest Airlines, or Delta, one of those three. And he asked, why isn't there a train that stops here? So that just, that flipped the switch with NDOT. NDOT has certain divisions of their agency, and one of the divisions is rail program. And you'll see pretty soon, they have to come up with a 5-year, what they call multimodal plan for transportation, automobile or motorized vehicle, boat, airplane, and train. And they're coming to the conclusion that their answer, we can't keep building highway lanes to meet the demand of the increased flow of traffic. There has to be other ways to move people. So they've come up with this idea of a commuter train. Well, what floored me, because I wasn't expecting it, they wanted to come out and talk to me. Well, they have this idea in 2019, they want to move Union Station from Indianapolis out here to Beech Grove. And, so I just listened to them, you know.
Yeah, because the Amtrak comes in on those tracks over there, right? Yeah, yeah.
Well, then they want to do it on the north side of Amtrak, which is in Beech Grove, but it's controlled by the Redevelopment Commission. I support it.
Conrail land?
Huh?
Are you talking the Conrail, or not God, that's old.
CSX.
Thank you.
Yes.
CSX line that we talked about earlier.
So I was kind of taken back by it. I wasn't expecting that at all. It wasn't even on a radar. But we're very serious about it, and NDOT is willing to pony up to, that's something I got to think about. And they come out and talk to the council at the last meeting to talk to them about it, not to make any decisions, just to let them know that they're serious about this. And they're not very happy with the fact that the city of Indianapolis has bailed, and they're going to increase the amount of trains that the Hoosier State operates, and the Cardinal. So, I guess we're going to have to take a look at this.
The Cardinal runs, what, 3 days a week or 4? And then the Hoosier State runs the other days.
3 or 4 times a week, but they're gonna, those 3 or 4 times a week, they're gonna do 2 trains a day.
Yeah, there's one at 6 in the morning, it leaves out of Union Station, so that's the thing is, it leaves at 6, gets into Chicago at 11, and it leaves out of Chicago at 6 and gets into Indianapolis at 11. I've ridden, and yeah, moving out of Union Station, it's a unique experience.
Oh, yeah. Especially when if you've ever taken the Hoosier State,
Oh, yeah.
Like the last time I took the Hoosier State, I didn't get back to Indianapolis till about 2:30 in the morning. That's questionable circumstances.
The thing that, nobody's a bigger train fan than me, you can ask my wife to her annoyance. The problem that I've seen with that is, it leaves out of here on the CSX rail line, it goes out to Crawfordsville and makes a right, go up past Monon, and that's the old Monon track, but that is a heavy-use CSX line, and if you have ever ridden the train, you'll see freights off on a siding while you're waiting to go by, but when you get into Chicago on the south side, then you start running into the Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, and there have been times that I've sat on that train for an hour waiting for tracks to clear. That's the thing is, there's federal government talking about how to do a Chicago bypass with trains, because there's just so many hundreds of freight trains that go through and around that city. I mean, I don't think the idea is a bad one, but they really need to figure out a way to get faster service or better service on that track, because it is crowded.
They talked about that, and they talked about, I've ridden it, I rode it with Arvid Olson in Lafayette as part of a Greater Lafayette Commerce trip back in the day, but we were very late. But they were talking about how the times have improved and
Our
what they're.
train caught on fire.
They had really good food. It was fun on the train, but they talked about how the times have improved and what they're trying to put in place to increase that. So it was pretty exciting
But
to hear.
you were at the council meeting, you heard them talking about it,
Yeah.
So this means I can get to a Cubs game easier? And I'll go watch Cubs play?
In
It
theory.
depends on when they're playing.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want you to know that they want to talk more about it, so, if they ever move forward, which I think they will, well, that becomes that's in a TIF district.
that would be a government station though, right? We wouldn't have any, what I call access to revenues on that, right?
I don't
You know what I mean?
know.
Cause if it's, yeah, 'cause that's what I don't know, cause like Union Station, yeah, it makes sense to, you know, I get it, it creates a bottleneck with the Amtrak coming in there, and it makes more sense not to have it there, just where trains can go through there quicker, but, you know, I've always wondered that as well. And plus, nobody's put any money into Union Station since 1980 maybe.
Don't know.
They still got the wooden benches from like the 50s down there.
But it's out there, and I just wanted to let you know that, you know, they're talking about it, and they're talking about funding it. I mean, so, and NDOT's really good about infrastructure.
Well, we'll be definitely interested if they come to us.
Yeah. So,
They'd tie in well with Amtrak. I'm sure they could probably get the federals to throw in a little money, because that's one of their car repair places.
but the only thing you would have a responsibility for with all of these grants would be the Greenway. The Thompson Road is not a redevelopment commission. The roundabout really isn't either. Could be, but the city's picked up the funding for that. So that's all I've got. Now, I haven't heard from Mr. Parsons. Have you heard from him?
I talked to Kevin. They are feverishly working. I let him know that I'd like it by August, September at the latest, because honestly, I would like to see if we could get those signs in, if not this fall, by next spring.
You know,
Again, we'll have to go to the city council and talk to them, because we'll have to see, he's working on the payment, or, you know, the costs. And if we can keep the costs reasonable, I think the RDC probably could cover both signs. But again, what I worry about is, we have to maintain it long-term, and that's what we need to talk about, and, you know, get the prices. And also, you know, the first signs are the first two parts of a bigger puzzle to clean that up. So, you know, I have to get city council buy-in that they'll be willing to support this long-term.
you know, we had a terrible accident out there the other day.
Oh, with the car that landed on the other one?
And if those signs would have been in there, it would have wiped out one of them signs. That's how violent that was.
You know what, though? I gotta say this, that would have been okay with me, because then that guy would have lived.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
It's just amazing to me that the guy who was intoxicated walked away without a scratch and was perfectly fine. And
Yeah. So, it's just terrible.
well, and you know, to your point, when you talked, is it where the speedway is, that Victory Drive? I can't remember the speedway in the Quinta. You mentioned, I told my wife, that, you know, the mayor said this was one of the most dangerous intersections in the state, and we were at Steak and Shake. It wasn't even 2 minutes later. Boom!
It made the top 50.
Dennis, do you have any updates on that car lot on Emerson that we've talked about before?
No, I have not.
I was over there yesterday. They are putting up a wall parallel to the alley, made up of highway dividers, the interlocking pieces. Yeah.
K-rails.
And they're going to extend that across the back end of that lot, parallel to the alley. And that was news to me.
Yeah, I don't know of,
And it still is unpaved, and it's still dirt. And I know we've talked about this before. I know you weren't in favor of that going in there, and I didn't know if they had given you a
that was a battle that,
timeline by which it was gonna be operational and paved and everything else.
no, I have no correspondence with them. I know, they know where my position is. I didn't want them there. You know, I'll do whatever I can to stop it.
And the other lots that are on either side of Main there, right at the entry point, I know we've had issues there. Do we have any updates on that situation? Nothing there.
No.
I think you're spot on. They've outgrown that facility.
So I lost, I begged the city of Indianapolis to tell them no, and they said yes. So I lost. It does nothing for us.
Give it your best shot, that's for sure.
Now that St. Francis is down, do you think there'll be any shot we'll get anybody looking at that facility on the other side of the street?
I was over
We had
there,
those people come through that one time and, you know, they talked a good game, but
I was over there the other day picking up trash, and that building is falling into disrepair. The exterior doors are rotting out. It's just a shame.
well, I've always said a house is like a person, and that if there aren't people in there taking care of it and keeping it alive, it'll crumble back. Any facility will. You know, you see those I belong to an abandoned space website, and you should see like these shopping malls that have been abandoned for like 3 years. It looks like there's been nobody in there in 100. And Grissom Air Force Base, my brother went up there and took pictures. Thriving military base, it's now just dust. I mean,
Hospital in
so,
Richmond.
yeah.
That building's owned by a guy, at least it was owned by a guy in Chicago. We looked at it as an early childhood center, Gina Fleming and I did about 7 or 8 years ago. Actually, I have a cousin who I talked about trying to develop. It'd be a great place to go and put condos because there's soft walls every place.
Right.
It would not be very difficult to go in there and refurbish. It's a perfect location for someone like that if we just find an investor to come in, especially with, you know, what's taking place with the hospital coming down and all the other kind of revitalization we'll see around Beech Grove. If an investor would go in there and buy that, I think they could buy it very cost effective and really do something nice with that.
Because, I mean, the Safeway looks decent, and the Country Oven next to it, it'd be nice if something would happen on that as well, because that's been empty, what now, at least 10 years. And, you know, those properties, we need to get people in there. I mean, with the hospital being down, I hope that area will become more attractive.
I don't know. On the car lot, Mark, we would have to check with zoning to see if that wall is kosher.
I know the building commissioner went down, looked at it, and he says it meets code.
The wall does?
The wall does. It's only 6 foot high, and it's not permanently affixed to the ground. So it's basically considered a fence.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And then my other question was the signage grant that we had talked about for Main Street, that grant, where the businesses would put in so much. And have we heard about that, or? did it
It's,
pass the bill, or-
no, it was submitted on May the 30th to Okra for review. And then what happens is after Okra approves it, then it comes back to the city and then the city council has to approve it. And then, once that happens, then it could be submitted to Okra. And the submission time is sometime in November. Once Okra gets, it generally takes Okra 60 days from the time it's submitted for them to approve it. So it was submitted May the 30th, so by the end of July, we should hear back from them. And then the income survey that was done, they sent out another batch because our numbers were about 70 short of getting a true reading, so another batch went out.
Our community never got those.
Really?
I was disappointed, because I saw people complaining.
It came
about
off of the sewage list, sewage works list.
Well, I know I pay my sewer bill, because they send it every month regardless. So but I never saw it. I'd have loved to answered it.
It was just a white envelope, and then there was a self-addressed envelope in there, and I think the paper was, it's one piece of paper red or something.
I would've
It
done
was
it
simple, it
first
took
off.
5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, I got it.
There's only, what, 4 or 5 questions, I
Mhm.
think.
It was pretty
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
You get one, Vito?
I got a lot of mail and open.
I got 2.
Pay all the bills online. I don't recall getting one, but
I looked at our mail, and I'll look again, but I don't either. I know it's important to fill those things out, so I
I'll
tried
look for
to.
it.
Unless I didn't understand what it was and I just.
All right, that's it. Good to see you guys.
Sure, thank you. Well, other than Kevin Parsons, that's all I had, is I talked to him, I'm gonna try to get him back, and then, September, we'll have to start figuring out the budget, which we should have the numbers by then for 2019, which 2019, we know 65,000 will be for the Greenway. Like I said, Kevin was talking that those signs might be about 75,000 apiece, which it would take what we have down quite a bit, but it'd be a good first step, and if you consider that's 150,000, and they had quoted the whole thing as like 2.1 million for the signage on Emerson Avenue, but I think if we could get the signs in and get the base in there, I think that'd be good, because the mowing looks nice, and, like I say, eventually they'll have both sides, we'd have both sides of that, on and off ramp with plants, and again, I think it'd be a positive image for Beech Grove, which again is so critical, and that's, it only takes one bad act to brand your city, and that's the message I keep telling people, is we have to, keep our name out of the paper for the bad and try to get it in the paper for the good. And as the mayor knows, it only takes one fight at Walmart to have your city, with a horrific name, or or a python in the backyard. I mean, it's funny in a way, a snake getting out and that stuff, and we all laugh about it, but,
Made the front page of the Chicago Tribune.
yeah, and it's just, it just hurts our city, so I mean, that's stuff to where strong compliance and just getting everybody in the community on the same page is important, and I think these signs, once people see them, because the drawings, they're spectacular, and once those are in there, you think about the thousands and thousands of cars that exit there that head to Franklin Central or south on Southport Road. I'm hoping those people at one point in time will say, let's go north and see what's up there. We never drive up into Beech Grove. Let's see I'm hoping that we'll start seeing some of that. And like where the old DMV is, I'd really love to see a McAllister's go in there. They've got one going in down on Greenwood, and it just doesn't seem fair that Beech Grove doesn't have something like that. So that's just my thoughts. If anybody has any other thoughts or wants to make any comments, now is the time. Otherwise, I think we're out of business.
Hey, Donna, I do want to take the time to, since Paul's here with us, we had a really good meeting. Was it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
And I'd like for Paul to just touch base on it, about the future of school security and the times that we're living. It was a really good meeting. And
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Mayor Buckley, because we've teamed now for 5-6 years with an officer in the building. It's been Mark Parker, and now it's Kelly. And it's kind of funny, I was interviewed on Channel 6, and they asked about, the state's going to give you these metal detectors. Well, for every 250 kids, we get a metal detector. That also means I have to have someone to stand there to do it. And I told Channel 6, and I would say, again, our biggest opportunity for school safety is getting more liaison officers and counselors in the building to work with kids. That being said, the mayor and I, we're going to have some meetings this fall to talk about school safety. We're going to have an evaluation of our buildings inside and out, so we don't want to go, we have secured entrances, but beyond that, we haven't had the resources to do that. So as we move forward in our own budget, and our assessed valuation is up 5% for the 18 school, or budget year, which is fabulous. I know the city AV is up too. It was great. We can't count on 5%, but as that AV goes up, we really want to focus dollars towards school safety. We'll be doing a referendum in 2020-ish, maybe. Again, we really think we need to look at this to get more assistance, physical people working with our kids in the building. Research is really clear. It's not a metal detector. It's a kid being able to go to to that officer, to that council, say, hey, there's an issue there. So, Mayor and I, we're gonna have some joint meetings in the fall, just to invite the community in to get their input. And like I said, this Friday, actually, we have a school safety specialist addressing our administrators on the topic, but we're gonna put a comprehensive plan together to get input from the community, to bring research and move forward with some things. You know, because I'm sure Noblesville never dreamed it would happen to them. I worked there for 5 years, and that was the last thing they ever thought would happen. And it could happen anywhere, anytime. So there's a lot of discussion going, even delaying fire alarms is a topic right now. If the alarm goes off, wait 5 minutes. That was debated with the legislators this past spring, and so there's just a lot of topic we need to discuss to keep our kids safe. So.
How much what's the AV up to now? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
You
It's
said 5%, I was just curious.
no, it's creeping up to 400,000. The sad thing is, in 2009, it was 525,000.
Million.
A million. It was 20 million. It dropped to 350. We've creeped back up to right around that 404, and there's about 19 to 20 million through the TIF process. That obviously the RDC has done a very good job of allocating those resources the last 3 to 4 years. So, but we're positive about that, and the value of homes haven't changed a lot. It's some of the other businesses that are helping with that. So, the average house in Beech Grove right now is $100,000, according to our bond council. So, and that's up because it used to be 85. You know, so.
Well, when we paid that Frank Nowicki to do the Beech Grove, the one thing that was startling to me is basically 92% of our houses in Beech Grove are under like $120,000.
Right.
We have 8% that are, I'd call over the $150,000 to $450,000, $500,000 range, and that makes it really tough. Whereas like a place like Carmel, you can't get a house for $100,000 in Carmel. You know, or if you find them, they're the real old Carmel. You know what I mean? Everything is so big and built up. And I mean, it's a challenge because we're so landlocked, but.
But there's a lot of nice, I mean, a lot of improvements going on. As
Oh, yeah.
you drive around, people are, the best thing that happened to us was the hailstorm we had about 3 or 4 years ago, because everybody got new roofs, and then you can see then they would start investing in their doors and
Oh, yeah.
everything else. So, but I know Mayor and I have talked about, we're real positive about the future, and, you know, we just gotta get that one McAllister's or one more go-to restaurant downtown that people will come to.
Well, I'd argue with people, like, we go to the Napa Villa all the time, and I said, I prefer it over like Olive Garden, and
Right.
it's just, it's a nice place, and,
Right.
you know, I like giving business to the people that live here, so to speak. So do you think school safety will eventually involve more officers?
Absolutely. Mayor and I, we talked about that on Wednesday. And again, that's not gonna prevent someone from, you know, something happening outside of school, but again, it's that relationship with kids and.
I just think it's a heck of a deterrence, because one of the
I do
things that always
too.
bugged me is we make these schools to be such soft targets.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you go down to the State House and try to walk in there with a gun or something,
Yeah.
there's armed guards all over the place. You
Right.
won't get far. If you go out to the airport and try to go through with a loaded gun, you're gonna have people, you know, right away. But schools, you can walk in there and you're free, you know, free
We
to
did-
roam, and I just don't ever understand that.
We're putting 30 cameras in our high school this summer. I think there'll be 10 outside, 20 in, and actually the price of security cameras have come down tremendously, also along with the clarity, and it can zoom right in on those. And what's really good is every officer in Beech Grove will have access to that. And just they can pull out their phone, or they can be on their computer. and so if they hear an alarm going at any school, they can go right to it. So we'll do Central this fall and continue with the other ones, but here, as we speak right now, they're putting in the 30 cameras. So I think that's also a deterrent when people know that they're being watched, so.
I think it's such a cowardly act to go and to shoot people because you're mad or something, and I think cowards, like, to me, that guy, where was it, the one in Texas who didn't think he'd get caught that did that, you know, it's just, I mean, to me, it's the biggest cowardly act you can do, and it just infuriates me that people do that, or think, you know, and I don't know why it's with this generation, because when we were in school, occasional fist fight at the most, but, you know, I don't know why their kids today are so much more prone to violence than they were 20 years ago. And not like violence, like fist fights, but like, you made me mad, I'm gonna get a gun, I'm gonna go to school, and I'm gonna hook some people up type violence. And I just don't know where that has spawned from in the last 20 years.
It is scary.
Can I make a comment?
Always.
So, actually, I believe it was, what was it, 92 at the middle school? Right over here, there was a gun fired in the ceiling.
Yep.
And a standoff with a student.
That's accurate.
It was over a shoot up gummy bear that was spit back in a drink. I remember speaking at length with Mrs. Williams about it. My sister was in the cafeteria when it happened, and he fired a gun into the ceiling, held it to a girl's head. So it's not, and that was actually one of the first ones that had occurred in America. I mean, and then like 4 to 6 years after that was Columbine.
Right.
So, but it was one of the first ones. It made the national news.
Yep.
It was on CBS. Dan Rather talking about it.
I think it goes back to talk about the social emotional learning and what we have to do with kids starting kindergarten. Right now at our K-1 building, we offer a class called social emotional learning. And we spend time every day on that with our kids because just of the challenges that they're incurring.
You have to equip them to deal with those situations a different way.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why more counselors is probably the most important thing when you start talking about how can we affect change with kids.
When the counselors say they're screwy or nuts, you need to not ignore that and say, oh, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, well, again, that last case, the mom let the kid, even though they told her not to, let her go, but let him go. I mean, she should be in jail with him. I mean,
I agree with you as far as security, but I also don't want my children to feel like they're walking into a prison to go learn.
well, I mean, I guess my thinking is, we put a ton of Secret Service around the president, members of Congress, people that we consider valuable.
I think it's a fundamental societal problem that can be solved.
Well, it is, but I just,
Go to Banker's Life.
Oh, no,
walk
I
in.
understand, but I'm saying as
Or
long as we get
Yeah.
counselors that are involved ahead of where they see, whether it's a kid being bullied in the 2nd grade and you see him starting to pull himself back from his friends or, you know, maybe not being as interactive in class. When you get ahead of those things and discuss it with the parents and get them involved, maybe you get ahead of those things.
but
But
if you,
security is always a thing, but my opinion, if a kid, a lot of those school shooters that we see, they could care less if there was a camera in the building.
They care less.
They were gonna walk in the
you know
building.
what's funny?
Agree.
As I was reading this thing, and it was talking, or this article, and it was talking about that, and it said, a lot of these shooters, the ones that don't kill themselves, identify with the Columbine shooters. They,
It's a copycat situation.
they idolize what they did, because what those 2 kids did is they got payback for being treated badly. And that is a driving force. The other thing is, they know that they are safe to go to schools because no one is going to shoot at them. And they can shoot, and so they can carry out their work in relative peace.
Yeah.
And, you know, my final thing on that for you is, I worry heavily about the amount of drugs we give kids. Little Billy's acting up. Let's dope him up because he's got ADHD. We'll leave him in a coma in the room, and he'll be fine when he grows up. We don't understand brain development at that age, you know, and we know, like example, marijuana on a 13 to 19-year-old alters the brain to where it can't be altered back. And we're giving these kids powerful drugs
I
that are
agree with you.
altering their brain, and
But
we haven't looked
The
at the time.
ADHD kids 200 years ago are the ones that turned into drunks, drug addicts, and became outlaws.
Well, and I'm just telling you, if you look
So
at all
there
these shooters,
is
they have one thing in
medical-
common, they were,
There is
all
a
of
lot of
them were
medical
medicated.
evidence behind that it does work.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, all these kids that did these school shootings were on those types of drugs. It is a very, well, I mean, there's a history
I
of it.
guess I'll have to Google it.
You should, because again, I think it's been covered up because,
Well, if it's covered up, I can't Google it.
well, it's not so much covered up, but they don't, again, it's not the focus
I think
of what they want to
I'm
focus.
just saying that there is an issue where, okay, for instance, I went to high school with a kid, that everyone went to high school with that one kid that goes, if somebody's gonna shoot up this school, it's gonna be that guy. But guess what? His father murdered his mother during that school year. So, and I went to Ronco, so it's supposed to be a good, family. But that kid had issues, and nobody ever talked about it. And he killed her with a dumbbell in bed. So, what I'm saying is that there are certain issues where I agree with you that medication sometimes isn't always the thing, but you have to take the kid and give him a hug sometimes and say, hey, what's going on?
Well, and that's where I hope the counselors will help that,
Yeah.
because you're absolutely right. The Florida shooter, everybody knew he was a ticking time bomb, but nobody did anything. And I guess that's what I see a lot of this is, it seems like we've done a better job of identifying them, but we don't do a very good job of either talking to them, confronting them, or making sure
Your teachers
that.
are scared because the parents are gonna say, what are you questioning my child about?
Well,
Trust
it's
me, my wife
illegal.
as a teacher would tell you, you don't
What can they
question
do
kids.
legally, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Well,
Are you allowed to question them?
I will tell you from my perspective, that page is turning. I really believe the social-emotional learning, our kids that are Medicaid eligible, have free counseling with adult and child.
Yeah.
In the 9 years I've been here, this is starting my 40th year in education, our schools put more money and more resources. We just got a $390,000 grant or something to put more counseling service in the school. And I think we're doing the best we can. That's across the nation. But if there's any area we need to add money, it's resources, it's in counseling services for kids. And we've added 3 counselors in the last 3 years. And it's working with that kid individually, small group, over and over and over again. And so, got a long way to go, though.
It's great investment.
Donald, it might be a good idea to at least consider maybe sometime in August having a work session because, for example, the I-465 interchange, so there's more time and it's in a more of a format where, people can look at the diagram. Kevin Parsons, and it doesn't have to be limited to that. We can have some, perhaps, commissioner sort of education too on what the RDC is allowed to do, what it can't do, what it might do.
Right.
A Saturday, perhaps Saturday morning type.
September might be a bit, we'll have to, if we're going with Kevin, I wanna make sure he has everything together, cause like I say, I'd like to get something going so that maybe next year we could do that. Right, cause again, I think we're gonna have to have some money from the city or some support from the city for it. So to your point, if we did it in September, their budgets, is your budget September or October that you start?
September.
So yeah, if we did it, say in early September, we could at least say, hey, I'm not talking like money, a lot of money, but again, we have, the cutting of crews, and with these new signs and stuff, there might be more monies needed to maintain them as far as like landscaping and stuff like that, because from the drawings and stuff, they're gonna look really nice, and they're gonna be lighted, You know, we'll have to solve the controversy over Big B, Little B. That could be a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Yorktowns, like, you dream about Yorktown, they're
Oh,
really
yeah.
nice gateway.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'll give you an example. We were with the air show in Dayton, and if you drive the 75-70 interchange, it looks like you're driving into a golf club. It's absolutely beautiful. And let me tell you, Dayton's got a lot more problems than Indianapolis. But your impression of Dayton, when you drive through there in those towns, it looks nice. Now, if you get off and go in the city, you may not feel the same way, but initial appearance in Dayton is that it's a pretty darn nice place. Because why? It's an eye curve and appeal, and we would be the only place on the 465 to have that done. Speedway doesn't have that, and I mean, I was out in Plainfield the other day, and you look at 267, they've got the lights with the Plainfield banners hanging up, and I mean, people are moving out there, people are moving to Avon and stuff, and that's the one thing, is we still wanna make Beech Grove attractive, and not to transient renters. We wanna make it attractive to people who wanna, you know, start families here, and I think, again, this will improve the overall image, and, you know, kinda like giving your house a new paint job will help it sell. I'm just hoping that new signs, positive karma drives up that assessed value, gives Dr. Kaiser more money, which helps the schools, makes the schools better, which makes people wanna live here. Businesses find people wanna live here, they wanna move in here. I mean, that's the thing is, on redevelopment, I can't remember the gentleman's name from Ball State, but you know, these cities that'll give millions of dollars to get the factory here. It's like Indianapolis, you know, they're talking about Amazon. Wouldn't it be great if we got Amazon? Well, yes and no, because yeah, Amazon moves here, but then when you give them $500 million in tax money for training and all the other stuff they're gonna get, and then you give them another $500 million worth of tax abatements where they don't pay for fire, police, ambulance, roads, sewers for 10 years. How great is that? But you know what I'm saying? It is, and that's why I worry about the power of RDCs. The power to do good is also the power to do bad. And, you know, Greenwood, you know, gave $5 million to an insulin factory that never even opened. They didn't even get the concrete poured on the floors. And their taxpayers are gonna be paying that for another 15 years. And they're still spending more money because they've got it. So we don't have that luxury, but the one thing we do have is in 2022, we will be debt-free. And in 2021, if we wanted to, we can pay off the bonds. So in 3 years, this RDC can get rid of $6.5 million worth of, to me, questionable debt. And long-term, and it'll be for the city council and the mayor to decide, but long-term, do we want to keep an RDC? And to me, it's one of your Saturday things where we sit down and on a board we put up, this is what we think the RDC did good, this is what it did bad. And we start adding up the numbers and see which side has the bigger number, because it needs to be an open, honest adult conversation that, do we really need an RDC? And what is the value of giving businesses money to move to Beech Grove?
Well, you and Ron and Kathy can write a testimony on how bad it was when you
Well, I told
decided
Tara,
to serve.
she didn't believe how long the meetings could be. And we couldn't even get the mayor to come. They were awful. That's Ron.
You dreaded them.
It's 10 till 8, and I feel like we've been here a long time, but we weren't even at the halfway mark of half of our meetings then.
No.
And you did. You absolutely almost got sick to your stomach coming here because it was just tedious.
Like a
And-
root canal.
And then, you know, you look at what we spent the money on. I mean, my first 2 years in the RDC was dealing with taking down Digital City. You know what it's like to pay someone $15,000 to pull out telephone poles that you paid $150,000 2 years ago to put in? Because why are you doing it? Because you're getting charged $350 a month by IPL for nothing, because you're using their poles and you have power going to those instruments. Even though they're using microscopic amount of power, you're paying that bill every month. And then you take that stuff out. It was sat out at city or the sanitation department for a couple of months until some guy agreed to sell it on consignment and gave us $1,500, and he could never sell it because, as he told me, when they put it up, it was already obsolete and no good. But we paid over $3 million for that. Again, it was government being well-intentioned, but it was a huge boondoggle and a waste of money. And that's the problem is, we always look at the intentions of government, but we never look at the results. And that's why, you know, that's one of my things is when we get 2020 and we're getting close to paying this debt off, again, Dr. Kaiser needs to be there because we take money from his schools. City council needs to be there because that's more money for police and fire. And as a prime example, the cost of those are going up. And at some point, it's, especially with fire, in the next 3 to 5 years, it's gonna be really hard for you guys to afford a fire department. And there's going to be serious talk about merging with IFD. And it's not popular, but it's gonna have to be a grown-up conversation we're gonna have to have. And I know nobody wants to have it because we love saying that we own it in Beech Grove, but we just may not be able to afford those things. And, you know, if, getting rid of the RDC and freeing up a few $1 million will allow that money to keep our fire department a little longer, that might be a trade-off we're gonna have, but, you know, those are things, those are looming storm clouds that we definitely have to deal with. You're like Robert Hayes in Airplane, I have a drinking problem. Little tidbit before you go, that movie was released 38 years ago this week.
It's great.
If you wanna feel old, just.
And don't call me Shirley.
No.
Exactly.
My son and I watched that for the first time a couple weeks back.
Anybody have anything else? I've talked too long, I apologize.
I appreciate the opportunity to represent the school corporation and community being on, even as a non-voting member, I just feel blessed to be here and to be part of this great group. And again, you guys have done some really good things the last 3 to 5 years from my perspective in the community, and that's real positive, good teamwork and synergy going on.
Well, as busy as you are and as much as you have to do, we thank you for doing it. I mean, you have too much to do now, and giving up your time on a Thursday is, you know. So, anybody have anything else?
Nope.
If not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. We will see you in August.
When in August?
Oh, the second Thursday goes, I don't know,